Hi everyone, I'm Rincey and this is Rincey Reads. Today I'm going to be talking about Yes Please by Amy Poehler. I was super lucky and I was able to find a copy at my local library and I basically did a happy dance. So I picked this up literally on the day it came out and I read it immediately and I devoured it because I really enjoyed this. In case you guys weren't aware, this is a memoir by Amy Poehler. Obviously, if you don't know Amy Poehler, she's been on Saturday Night Live, she's currently starring on Parks and Rec. She's been in a bunch of movies like Baby Mama, and she's just a really well-known actress and comedian and just produces her own content and things like that. So she is just all around a really awesome lady. I'm not really going to give like a plot synopsis because it's kind of weird to do that for a memoir because it's just Amy talking about her own life. She jumps around in time and talks about a lot of different things, including growing up in Boston, high school, college, her work that she did in Chicago as part of different improv groups, starting the Upright Citizens Brigade, joining SNL, and then doing Parks and Rec. All of those things get mentioned, and also what she's doing right now. This is a memoir that isn't like super deep in depth, like you're not going to see a lot of like dirty behind the scenes stories. That's not really just who Amy Poehler is, and one thing that I found really interesting in this book is that she actually explicitly says like all of the things that have happened in her life are really nobody's business and no one has a right to know any of those things, but she is choosing to share certain things in her life. But just because this book isn't very in-depth, it doesn't mean that she's not honest. She is very like upfront about the fact that she has gone through difficult times. She talks about the fact that she got a divorce and she speaks very openly about currently having a boyfriend. She talks about the difficulties and the struggles that she had, you know, when she was first starting off, and how she had just constantly worked hard and she basically just always believed that it was possible for her, and that sort of just motivated her to keep working hard and to keep trying things even though it wasn't always easy. Towards the beginning of the book she talks about the title Yes Please, and she just talks about how the idea of saying yes to everything is sort of like one of the beginning rules of improv. Like you always just go along with what's happening and you always just try to make it work, and then the idea of just adding please is sort of like one, being polite, but also just making sure that everyone realizes that it's not just you doing it, it's like we're doing this together, like yes please, we're all joining in and doing whatever it is that we're doing. And so she just really talks about how that's just been a theme in her life and how it sort of like guided her into where she is today, and how her saying yes to basically everything and just willing to always give things a try has led to her just having a lot of success. And one thing she does touch upon in this book that I really appreciate is that she does recognize her own privilege of being a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white girl from Boston. She was from sort of like a blue-collar class, so it's not like she came for money or things like that, but she recognizes that she has also had a lot of luck in her life. Like while she has worked hard, there has been a lot of things that have just worked out in her favor, and she is aware of that fact, and she does talk about that a little bit, which I did appreciate as well, because a lot of times people don't always recognize that, and I like the fact that Amy Poehler does. One thing I want to talk about this book that's really unique to having the physical book itself is just the way that this is laid out. I know a lot of people are listening to this on audiobook. One of my friends is listening to it right now and she's just, you know, texts me about how there's different people making guest appearances and, you know, there's a little bit of extra content, but there's also a lot of little things in this book and it's just really well done that I think it's totally worth getting this copy. The cover itself is really beautiful, and there's also like this message from Amy in the back that's really hilarious. Even like the table of contents is really laid out quite beautifully. It's broken up into sections and just these beautiful fonts and color choices. There are spreads like this at the beginning of each section that are just really well designed and just totally eye-capturing. Really captures your attention and just really makes reading the physical book worth it. She includes lots and lots of photographs, which I think is really nice, and she also includes like this is a letter from Hillary Clinton that she received, or that her son technically received. This is like a poem that she wrote when she was a kid. Like she has a lot of extra stuff in here that I think is really nice and just sort of adds to the experience a lot more. There's a chapter in here where Amy Poehler is talking about Parks and Rec, and there is this added element of Mike Schur is basically editing it, and so there's like footnotes included everywhere for Mike Schur, which is really just smart. And I also just am a nerd and like well-used footnotes in a story. So things like that just sort of add an extra element. I'm not exactly sure how things like that play out on the audiobook. I imagine it being like Mike Shore will comment or, you know, add his comments in, but I just like the way that this book is laid out. I don't know if you can tell, but the pages are really nice. Like, they're really thick, like glossy pages, and it's totally worth the full hardcover price that you're getting with this. Like, this book itself is like really heavy, even though it's not very thick. Like, my hand kind of hurts holding this up, which it doesn't normally do with just regular old hardback. So they put a lot of time and effort, and whoever designed this book or laid out this book deserves like a raise or a bonus this year because it's so well done. In the end, I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. I really liked it a lot more than I thought I was going to, and I actually left this book feeling really inspired. I kind of wanted to write a bunch of stuff after I read this book, and I kind of want to reread it and get my own copy so I can like mark it up and underline it. I put a couple of my favorite quotes on my Tumblr, so you may have seen that, but this book left me feeling really inspired and just wanting to love the women that I have in my life and really be more appreciative of the things that I have in my life. Someone that I work with over at Book Riot, we were talking about this on the Book Riot, you know, message boards, and she had mentioned that this book was reminding her a lot of Cheryl Strayed, and it actually, when she said that, I was like, yes, that totally fits. Like, the way Cheryl Strayed writes feels very similar to the way this book feels, because Amy Poehler is just so motivating that it makes you want to be more or do more and things like that, which I really, really like. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Yes Please by Amy Poehler. If you've read this book, feel free to leave a comment down below letting me know what you thought of it. So yeah, that's all I have for now. Thanks for watching.